All right. Well, hello, everybody. Hello, Bettina. How are you?
Hi, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've had to make a setup outside of our normal one. I think almost all the shows I've done with the same background, but my computer monitor is not taking in the signal from the computer, and so I had to set up the laptop here on my couch. And so I'll see how I feel about how we'll see how this uploads, and I'll see how I feel about it after I watch the show back afterwards. And there may be
I,
a change, or I might just go right back.
from my vantage point, I kind of like it, but I don't know. Like I said before we started the show, I looked at your nice clean background that you have there now, and I look in my little camera that shows me, and it's like mess. So maybe that's why I like yours so much. It's like,
I
I'm
kind of get
going
a
for
sense.
minimalist.
That's right. That's right. I have the I get comments about having the Balderdash game that's at least visible. There's other board games underneath
Yes.
it like Scrabble, Words with Friends, Bananagrams,
Yeah.
and some of my favorites. But we get a sense of who you are. We get the Enneagram up above your right shoulder, and then we
That's
get the
true.
sewing machine behind you, and then we have like the
That's true.
craft supplies in their bins. So it kind of paints a picture of who you are outside of what we upload.
I suppose it does. Just, if it could be a bit neater, I think that would be,
Not in our nature, perhaps. We've discussed this in the past.
yes. There's more important things in life. But
That's
anyway,
right. That's right. So how's your week been?
it's been really good. Been really good. Um, yeah, haven't done anything significant. Been sewing actually a little bit, and I don't know. I'm sure I've been doing more than I think that my mind is telling me, um, and that's fine. It's interesting because I read an article. I added a new like on my Facebook called No Sidebar. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Hmm.
It's about minimalist living, and I'm kind of attracted to that lately. And not maybe to the most extreme version of it, but I think minimalist living can be a range
Hmm.
and a very personal thing. Like minimalist living for me might mean this, this picture, and for somebody else it might be something totally different. But there was an article there about what if I'm okay being mediocre, and I thought it was a really interesting article. It's like, what if I'm not doing grand gestures and saving the world? What if I'm just um, you know doing acts of kindness for the guy around the corner, or just happy to have my nice quiet uneventful life? And yeah, that really touched a chord with me. So yeah, I'm
That's
thinking about
interesting.
that a lot more. Yeah, and I think it is. I think it's we get caught up in the busyness, and we get addicted to doing and being and um, accomplishing and being productive, whatever, which again, for each person has a different meaning. But we get addicted to being busy, and well, we can have lots of addictions, but that's I
Hmm.
think a very common one these days is
Hmm.
is always being busy and never being still.
Yeah. I think that idea of it's kind of a grab me title because there's a resistance to it already when it says being okay with a mediocre life. We've been taught to resist that with pretty much everything we have, and taught that that's not okay. Um, but there is a trap in it, in thinking that it's not it's not okay to be mediocre at things. But when you get into adult life, you don't have enough time to be exceptional at everything. And then I think that we struggle when we see areas of our life aren't meeting like these lofty aspirations we may have had as a child, or as a teenager, as a young adult, as to what we thought they would look like. And then we give ourselves some pain, and then we really hurt our own self-concept because we haven't achieved some of these unrealistic. It's see each specific one. See, I think that's where the trap is, right? Because it's like it's not unrealistic for me to want to have, let's say, a six pack and look like some model in a magazine. that's not necessarily unrealistic, but it is also, but it is unrealistic if you also want to have 4 kids and be, you know, upper middle management at a big company, because then you just do the math and you just don't have enough time, resources, finances to achieve all three. And so sometimes I think we trick ourselves into thinking that while the one thing may not be unrealistic, all three may, or all 25 in more reality may be unrealistic. And then we have to become okay with 22 of those 25 things just being average.
Yeah, and I think that we have an idea of the word mediocre having negative connotations. It's not good enough, but um, and I wasn't too keen on the word mediocre for that, probably for that reason. But uh, you know, I started looking at it and I thought it's really just having an ordinary life. And what if you excel at being ordinary? What if you excel at, you know, being good at baking and sewing and all those everyday things that are the things that you want to provide for yourself and the people in your life? What if the idea of having really nice homemade clothes is really important to me? I mean, it sounds very ordinary, but I can be really good at it. And I'm doing a great service to the people I love, right? Or for the people I love. So I think there's great success in that, in mediocrity. And I think I think that an adjustment in our ideas about it and our perspective of mediocre and what exactly it means is probably not a bad thing, just because we get too caught up in spending all our time trying to be super successful. And you know, people, you hear people say, well, I want to make an imprint on the world. I want to make a difference in the world. But the difference in the world comes one small act of kindness at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a huge gesture. It can be just a series of, you know, acts of kindness. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think people need to know it's okay, because I think there are people out there, which is, I think, why I like that article. Is like, I think there's people out there that think people aren't going to think it's about our value, right? People aren't going to think they're valued
Mm-hmm.
unless they've, like, what have you done to contribute to the world, right? Well, I bake and cook everything from scratch for my family, and I sew and I do this and I do that. And that's, you know, we think that that's not enough, but maybe it is enough, because if you go back in time, that was all there was, right? That's what people did, and that was a perfectly good life. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny how we get this split sense, this split identity about how we judge ourselves, um, and somehow we always come up wanting if we listen to the ego. We're always not quite good enough in something, and it doesn't. I mean, we've talked so many times on this show. So many of the topics of the show have been about these specific things, but you pull back more from a macro sense, and yeah, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter if we listen to our ego, if we listen to that thing that is judging ourselves, we will just forever be in a spot where we're just not quite good enough, and we put pressure on ourselves that we have to improve. And there's nothing, I mean, that's really a human life. That's great that we want to continually create and get better, of course. But what isn't necessary is the pain and the shame that we decide to feel when we listen to those thoughts, and then we operate from a place from there, and then we hide from peak interactions with other people, because we want to kind of hide where we think that we aren't good enough, and we don't want the other person to see, and we want them to see things where we're excellent at something that we think has value, where if we were actually to sit down and plot out our life, plot out the things that actually make us happy, actually the things that we enjoy doing, some of the things that we want to show ourselves off to be excellent at don't even fit in a happy life when we ask ourselves our each individual roadmap to what leads to a good day, which leads to a good week, good month, good year, and good life. And those things will constantly shift and evolve. Um, but there is a dissonance between what we try to show off and what we actually value if we take away our projections on what society values.
Yeah. And I think that, the whole idea of not good enough, if we keep if we keep using that as a fuel to move forward, to grow, to learn, to expand, um, as a stepping stone to success, when is it good enough?
Yeah.
When is it enough? I think we never quite reach enough. But what
Mhm.
if this is as good as it gets? Is that enough? Can it be enough? Can we be okay with that?
Yeah.
I think that's really important too. And I think most people would say, no, this isn't enough. I want more. There's always
Yeah.
something, you know, there's always something else out there to strive for, to want, to desire, to accumulate. You know, it's it's an ongoing, never-ending chase,
Mhm.
really.
And it's part of the human condition and something to be celebrated as long as we have a healthy grasp of it. We can use this, just even reframing the question of, I have to get better at this as opposed to I get to be better at this, can just take off a world of pressure off our shoulders and therefore stress and therefore the hormones and cortisol we send through our bodies that actually do us harm. And I do like your point too about, you know, if it's all over 5 minutes from now, would this be enough? And are we okay with that? And I think there's a great sense of peace and satisfaction with, there's a lot of spiritual books and so on about dealing with the idea of your own mortality. Um, and I think that if you go down that path a little bit, you really relieve a lot of pressure on yourself if you can truly say, I've had a great time. I'd like some more. But if it all ends tomorrow, um, I can sit back and be pretty satisfied with what I've done. Um, and I think that can really take a lot of pressure off our lives and really free us up to come from a place of enjoyment, rather than a place of feeling as if we have to do a laundry list of things still. That the energy between the two of them is vastly different, and how we can show up in the moment is vastly different between what do I get to do next and I have 13 things yet to do.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when we have that, bucket list, we get caught up in the, you know, placing the tick mark beside it, and we don't actually lean into the experience and engage in the experience that's right in front of us, because in the back of our mind we're going, okay, I'm doing this one, on to the next one. When am I going to fit that in? And there's a lot of expectation there, and there's a lot of missing out um, on the experience that you're having right now, or
Yeah.
even day-to-day life, right? Because you're so concerned about the list of things you want to get done before you leave this earth. Um, and in the end, once you've had that experience, what does it mean? What's the big deal? You've had the experience, it's done. You still want to do more, right?
Yeah.
It's again, it's that, when is it enough? It's as long as we're breathing, it's never enough.
Yeah.
It's never enough, because that bucket list will probably grow and grow. And as soon as we make certain number of ticks on the list, then there'll be more time and we can add more things to the list, and it's just a vicious circle. um, and that's not to say you don't have the desire to go out and do things, but it's be in the moment and really experience life as it's happening, um, and stop worrying about, I'm going to die without, it's funny because one of the first books I ever read about spirituality, or, self-help books anyway, was Wayne Dyer's 10 Secrets to Happiness and Inner Peace.
Mhm.
And when I got to the second secret or rule or whatever it was don't die with your music still in you. And that one was like a knife to my heart.
Mm.
And I was like, don't die with your music still in you. Oh my God. I really felt that. I really, and it's sort of been rattling around in the back of my brain for 14 years now. And every once in a while it comes back up and I go, what have I done? What have I done with my life? What's inside me that I still need to get? And it's like, just being you is enough. You know what I mean? Like just being you and living the life that you're living and embracing every experience that you have, good, bad, or ugly, because every experience has something for you, whether it's a lesson or enjoyment or whatever it is. Um, and just being the best version of yourself in any given moment and walking out into the world in that way, that's you being living, putting your music out into the world. That's you not dying with your music still in you. It doesn't mean, you see, when I first
Yeah.
read it, I thought it meant what big
Yes.
thing am I going to
Yeah.
accomplish where the world will say, that Bettina Goodwin, wow, she was, the best at fill in the blank. And I didn't know what the blank was. But maybe Bettina Goodwin is just good at, you know, bringing kindness to the world, or baking good bread, or whatever it is. Um, that's okay too. And so, yeah, that whole thing about don't die with your music still in you. Wow, that's that's a pretty big thing. And I think we see, we're not always seeing it in the right light. I think it's like when we pray for help and the prayer is answered and we go, I prayed for it, but the prayer wasn't answered because we don't recognize the form in which it's delivered. And I think this is the same thing. This is like, um, I don't want to die with my music still in me. I want to be successful. I want to be this. I want to be that. And we don't recognize that the form in which we are successful
Hmm.
is not our preconceived idea of what it was, but something altogether different. Still very much okay.
Yeah. I think that's huge. That's a great quote you just said there. The form in which we are successful, because it's really about how we're showing up, and the idea of not dying with music still in you. Yeah, well, I mean, when I first heard that too, um, those many years ago, yeah, I thought the same thing. It was like, oh my God, I have to accomplish something. I have to,
Yeah.
I have to be statue worthy, and it when you take the look at it through a different prism of time. Um, like who really cares if you accomplish something but you weren't really present the whole time? Who cares, from a micro example of, like, getting the family through dinner. I have to make dinner. I have to have a bath with the kids, and I have to read them a story, make sure their homework is done, and send them to bed. Like you said, there's always tomorrow, and so many of these tasks have to be repeated. And how much are we focused on the checklist of I have to get these things done, as opposed to, how can I best enjoy the next 4 hours before the day is over? It's a little shift that makes all the difference in how we feel about things. A personal example from my life is when I go to work, and when I work at the restaurant. You know, some days I show up, some days I take care of myself really well in the afternoon, and I'll take some time for myself. I'll meditate, or I'll go for a walk, or have a workout or something. I'll just set myself up for showing up to work in a great mood, with a great attitude, and I'll get there and I'll be gregarious and happy, and um, engaging with everybody, coworkers and customers, and I feel great and I feel light. I'm not worried about anything. But then I can tell when my energy shifts when I think about a problem, or I think about what am I going to do next Tuesday, or I have something double booked tomorrow, or what do I need to get done tonight before I go to sleep. And when I start thinking like that, I know my energy shuts down, and so I might accomplish the same task. I might put in a shift at work, but how I show up for it is completely different. And how I feel through it. I mean, I feel in the first example, I feel light and excited, and like life is a real enjoyment. And in the second way, which I can do in the same night, really. I mean, I've caught myself many times, getting caught in the ego, getting caught in what am I going to do next? What this now isn't that doesn't suffice for a peak experience. I need to be I need to leave the present moment. I need to think about future problems or future challenges, um, or future checklists, and then my energy just shrinks. And while I may still accomplish the task, my enjoyment of it, me showing up, don't die with the music still in me. My music is me being present and me being engaging with other people and me showing up and me offering all the things that I can offer, all the things that I've cultivated in myself that I can offer the people around me in my environment, and then how I can have that be reflected back to me, in a higher quality way in the future if I can stay in that present moment more often. It's a small shift, but it makes all the difference, and it can go from a micro, what am I going to do with the rest of the day, to what am I going to do with the rest of my life, and how will my music be best expressed. And really, it's by getting out of our heads and getting out of future and past moments and getting into the present moment and showing up fully with all that we have to offer now. And if we do that, we just cycle ourselves upwards, we spiral ourselves upwards in a life. And if we don't do that, then we spiral ourselves downwards because the people around us know that we're not really there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting because Peter and I went to IKEA earlier in the week, and we went to the one in Burlington. So you had to go around to another location to pick up kitchen, like they were cabinet doors or whatever. And so we drove around and we went in and we had our little receipt or whatever. And the guy came up and then went to the back and came right out with our stuff. And I said something about, oh, everything's running tickety-boo today. Because, sometimes you have to wait. And it was all just, it was one of those days where everything was just boom, boom, boom. It took us no time to get there, and it was at rush hour. And, it was just one of those smooth sailing little errands that we had to run. And so the guy says, oh, tickety boo, that's an interesting word. What does that mean? And so I was explaining it. And so we got into a little bit of a conversation with him. And he said, wouldn't it be nice if everybody was like you people?
Mm. Yeah.
And I thought, it would. It would. And it really doesn't take that much. But, those are the moments where you're all there, you're all in, you're very present, there's no problem. It's all just tickety boo. And those are the moments, like that's where your music is right out there.
Yes.
And people are feeling that, and they are, just going with the music, and they feel the difference. They feel the difference between you and maybe someone else who comes in, or me on a totally different day when I'm not in that
Yes.
beautiful present place that I happen to be in that day or whatever. Although for the most part, I'm pretty good. But, we all do have our moments where we have to wait too long and we start to get grumpy, and, people feel that. Your music's not, it's still in you.
Yeah.
On most days, your music's still in you. But yeah, it's those ordinary moments that are extraordinary, because of the richness of the experience.
Yeah.
I think that's the gem,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about.
Really, I know, and all that all fits into the idea of like a mediocre life. You just going around and spreading your energy, spreading your good energy around. And I like the comment. Why can't more people be like you? And it's like, if we could be honest in that moment, it's like let me tell you the truth. I'm not even me a lot of the time, and how true that is for all of us, even those of us who would like to think that maybe we're present a little bit more often than maybe we used to be. Yeah, I'm not even always me in this way,
Exactly.
and it's a great reminder. It's a great reminder. Yeah, why can't I be more like this more often? And it truly is just a choice, and it feels better um, to be like that, but we feel like we owe the ego something, like we're in service of the ego, that we need to be accomplishing these things, trapped by the idea that if we don't, we would just be we would just have a mediocre life. And my God, if there's anything that's unacceptable, it's that we've been taught. And it's actually backwards. It's actually backwards.
Yes.
Um, and every moment that we don't spend like those people, like my best self, is a moment dying. We're getting closer and closer to death. There is a finite amount of time here, um, and we're going to expire. And how many of those moments are we going to spend uh, not playing our music? How often in our life can we go out and can we make other people smile? It's a real good gauge. How many other people can I make smile just because of my interactions today? How many other people can I make dance with me? And I don't mean physically like on Ellen's show, but I mean, how much can we play with them? With our words and our energy. Like tickety boo. How often can we get into that funny, laughing at the silliness of the moment, but bringing somebody else into it? And my goodness, I mean, if there's a solution for world peace, if there's a solution for all of our ills, it would be that. If we had the majority of people that we interact with bringing us into making us dance with them, making us smile, um, we would be a lot better off as far as how we feel about ourselves and feel about our life. I mean, this general malcontent that so many of us feel, myself included, it's part of the human condition, but we can do something individually to collectively raise our energy.
Yeah, I think, you know, um, just relax and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Just watch kids. They're amazing. They're so good at it. And
Yeah.
and I think that's why, people say, "Oh, kids are so wonderful." Like it's like who could not like a child, when they're in the moment, when they're playing, when they're, totally absorbed in what they're doing, when they're giggling and laughing and just enjoying life. Who can't like that? It's because that's what we wish we could be. And we just have to drop all those ideas about, you know, the fact that we're adults and we have to, have a certain um, demeanor, and we have to be serious, and we don't have to be serious. I like having fun, and um, so I do, and I'll do goofy things, and I don't have a problem with it, um, because to me that's who I feel like inside. Is I still feel like that little kid inside,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. I think it all connects. I mean, I know we're getting late on time, but when you do your meditations and you do the inner child meditations, I mean, that I think we all feel that little youthful exuberance inside of us, but we've been taught out of it. We've been taught it's not acceptable. We've been taught to express it is somehow wrong for a myriad of reasons. And there is a maturity you can bring to playing and having fun. Um, you know that you don't have to copy children, but copy their spirit by all means, and
mhm.
take a step back and realize how we condition children to stop it.
Yeah, and get in touch with our own inner child. I
Yeah.
mean, when I go grocery shopping, they play really good music at the grocery store. And, um, and so I'm often dancing while I'm pushing my cart down the aisle, and I'm dancing and usually singing to the songs because, it's what I do.
Yeah.
And I was at the grocery store. This is, well, God, about a year ago or so. And that's what I was doing. I was like, I wasn't paying attention. Like, who cares? I don't care if anybody's listening or watching. And I was like sort of dancing a bit and smiling and singing to the song. And this lady actually came up to me and she said, I just love that you're such a happy person and that you're just enjoying your life. And she said, it's so nice to see someone so happy.
It is.
It is, but it's so easy to do. It's just do it. Just go to that place inside. That place is in you. Everyone has that place inside themselves where that little kid just wants to get out and be happy and show the world. And so, yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
For me, it's singing or you know dancing to the music or whatever it is. But to somebody else, it might be something different. Whatever it is, just don't worry about it. Just do it because people like seeing that. They
Yes.
really do like seeing it. There's nothing worse than going to the grocery store and everybody's like pushing their cart around and bumping into each other, and grumpy looks on their faces, and
Yeah.
it's like sometimes I just want to go in there and say, "Come on, people, lighten
Yeah.
up."
No, you're exactly right. And especially the grocery store example. I mean, I often, I'm a single guy, and so part of my walks often is walking. There's a 14 that was like 40 minutes away from me, like this super grocery store, and I go often, and we'll go have one of their hot lunches for my lunch in the mid afternoon, and I'm there at the grocery store watching people do their routine, watching people do their checklists, and the overwhelming majority of them are accomplishing checklists, and there's not too many who are sitting there with open, present, happy, carefree energy. And yeah, it is interesting to go and people watch. And whenever we can be that aware of ourselves and our surroundings, choose to be in the present moment, from that place of like loving presence, play with people, bring a smile to other people's faces. And the more often we can do that, and then, I mean, really, it's a selfish act, making other people laugh and smile, because God, that feels great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It gives you, it perpetuates it, right?
Yeah.
It's like I I feel good, so I smile at you. You smile back at me. Ooh, I feel better. I'm going to go smile at someone else, and they will go and smile. And two friends and two friends and two friends.
Yeah.
It's got that ripple effect. It's got that back and forth. You're feeding each other something that's positive and uplifting, as opposed to something that's negative and can bring other people down. So yeah, it's a simple smile, really. It's so easy to do. And
Yeah.
it's interesting the number of times I'll be out and about and I'll pass somebody and they'll look so unhappy, and I'll just give them a little smile, and then suddenly it's like, oh, that was really nice, and smile back at me.
Yeah.
It takes so little to brighten someone, and maybe that's just the thing they needed in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's an act of kindness in my book, and a
Yeah.
really easy one.
Yeah. What a gift to give somebody their presence back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know that we've used up most of our time. We've actually gone overtime already, and it would be fantastic, Bettina, if you wouldn't mind taking us through a meditation to send us off into our day.
Yep, for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's close our eyes. Take a deep, deep breath, deep down into your belly. And as you breathe, take yourself to that place where you feel safe and protected, comfortable, loved, and at peace. This is a place that you create for yourself, your safe place. And in that place, to go to meet yourself when you were a child. And then just take that child and go off and play with them. Enjoy your time with them. Be carefree. Bring that little child and the spirit of that child back into your current world, to your present moment. Relax your shoulders and all the muscles in your body, just let them relax. Smile and remember that playful child that you were. And think of something that that child might like to do, whatever it is. And just spend some time with that child doing that. And maybe even afterwards, go out into the world and do whatever it is. And at the very least, carry the spirit of that child with you back into the waking world. And just remember how carefree, how present, and how wonderful playing as a child was for you. And know that this is who you are. This is a manifestation of your true self. Beautiful, carefree, happy, and perfect in every way. And when you're ready, keep that child in you. Keep that connection to that childlike spirit. Wiggle your fingers and your toes and bring yourself back to the world.
I like the idea of being carefree. I think about all the times we yell at children, "Be careful!" You know, they're on a monkey bar, they're on a swing. Be careful! Be careful! Be careful!
Yep.
And of course, there's a balance to be struck, but that carefree thought really struck me because it's we're stuck worrying about what might happen, and it just takes us right out of the enjoyment of the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we sometimes even get paralyzed by it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of balance there.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us today. It's been a pleasure putting the show on for you, and we'll see you all again next week.
Have a great week, everyone.